The education systems in most Western countries were literally designed to strip you of your individuality and drive you to be average, mediocre, or even an NPC. Peel back the pages of history and you'll find a playbook designed not just to enlighten, but to engineer societies, a system designed to push out obedient soldiers and pushed by the world's first billionaire. In the shadows of 18th century Prussia, under the reign of Frederick the Great, an educational revolution was quietly brewing, influenced by their defeat in the Napoleonic Wars. A state-controlled behemoth designed to mould young minds into loyal subjects was taking shape. The Prussian education system, crafted with meticulous care, was a master plan for churning out citizens as disciplined and obedient as soldiers, with a curriculum that might make modern students balk. The school day where mathematics and critical thinking were premium add-ons, while religious indoctrination and singing patriotic songs are the norm, all under the strict gaze of state-sanctioned teachers. This was for the common folk, of course, who were intended to make up the rank and file. But it wasn't all about control. There was a method to the madness. The Prussian model laid down the tracks for the education systems we navigate today, introducing radical concepts like compulsory school attendance and standardized testing, ensuring every child, irrespective of gender, was adequately schooled in the same curriculum. And let's not forget kindergarten, a Prussian export that's now a gentle introduction to schooling for kids worldwide. This rigorous approach to education, with its emphasis on duty and discipline, shaped Prussian children, preparing them not just for the workforce, but for allegiance to the state. The Prussian education system was a blueprint for mass-producing loyal, disciplined citizens, an early venture into the power of state-controlled education, a system that whispered not just knowledge, but a sense of order and place in the societal hierarchy, even influencing the land of the free across the Atlantic. It was about crafting a society that functioned like a well-oiled machine, with each citizen a cog perfectly shaped to fit their predestined role. This was mandatory for every youth, ranging from the nobility to the common folk, though what they learned differed significantly. Physical education wasn't just about health. It was a primer for military discipline, instilling values of strength, endurance, and most importantly, compliance. Yet it would be a mistake to view this only through a lens of control. The Prussian system was visionary in its reach, bringing education to the masses, setting the stage for a society where literacy wasn't a privilege, but a right. Every child had a place in the classroom, regardless of their background. But let's not sugarcoat it. At its heart, the Prussian education system was a masterclass in social engineering. The foundations were laid for the modern education systems that span the globe today. The transplantation of the Prussian education model into America's educational tapestry was not just a historical footnote, it's a living legacy that continues to shape our classrooms today. This system, designed for compliance, subtly perpetuates through the rigid standardization of curricula and the mechanistic approach to teaching, where students are often batch processed through an assembly line of standardized tests and uniform benchmarks. This methodology echoes the Prussian emphasis on obedience and discipline, prioritizing conformity over the nurturing of critical thinking or creativity. John D. Rockefeller's investment in the General Education Board, GEB, in 1902 was a pivotal moment that reinforced this trajectory, promoting an education system that serves more as a funnel into the workforce rather than to encourage independent thought. The intent behind this can be gleaned from Rockefeller's quote, "I want a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers," suggesting that he himself would have rather had compliant factory hands than potentially disruptive innovators. The echoes of this philosophy are evident in the modern educational landscape, where initiatives like Common Core in the United States strive for uniformity across states. While aimed at raising standards, these initiatives often draw criticism for stifling teacher creativity and imposing a one-size-fits-all approach to learning. Moreover, the increasing influence of corporate interests in public education through charter schools and educational technology sponsorships reflects the enduring legacy of the GEB's vision. These partnerships often emphasize skills and knowledge directly applicable to the labor market, sidelining liberal arts education that fosters broader intellectual and civic competencies. This shift towards vocationalism in education mirrors the Prussian model's focus on producing a workforce tailored to the needs of the state and the emerging industrial economy of the 19th century. Today's educational reforms, with their emphasis on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education, further illustrate this legacy. While STEM fields are undeniably vital, the disproportionate emphasis on these areas can be seen as a continuation of the Prussian system's utilitarian approach, preparing students for roles in a technologically driven economy, but potentially at the expense of a well-rounded education. The implementation of disciplinary measures and surveillance technologies in schools, from metal detectors to monitoring software, also traces back to the Prussian model's focus on order and obedience. Such measures, while aimed at ensuring safety, can create an environment more akin to a penitentiary than a place of learning, subtly reinforcing the notion of students as subjects to be controlled rather than individuals to be empowered. In essence, the shadow of the Prussian education system looms large over contemporary schooling, with its foundational principles still influencing how education is structured, delivered, and experienced. All this, however, is not to say that harsh or disturbing educational practices are unique to the industrialized West. In the rugged terrain of ancient Sparta, beneath the shadow of Mount Taygetos, we find something disturbingly familiar to our previous subjects. It was a rigorous and unforgiving education system known as the agoge, a crucible in which the fiercest warriors of the ancient world were forged. This system, marked by its extreme discipline and demand for excellence, required Spartan boys from the age of 7 to engage in a lifestyle that was unforgiving and harsh, preparing them for the realities of war and leadership. The agoge's curriculum was focused on physical strength, combat skills, and loyalty to Sparta, embedding a sense of duty and resilience. Discipline was maintained with flogging and even worse punishments. Unlike the broad educational goals of today, the Spartan system had a singular focus: creating warriors capable of defending their city-state at any cost. The training was relentless, with daily regimens that honed not only the body but the mind, teaching strategies, stealth, and, importantly, the ability to endure and overcome adversity. The diet of Spartan trainees was intentionally minimalistic, teaching them to operate under conditions of scarcity and to be always ready for the unpredictability of battlefields. This aspect of their training underscored the importance of self-sufficiency and adaptability, traits that were vital for survival. Discipline was central to the agoge, with physical punishments used not just as a means of correction, but as a tool to instill a deeper sense of endurance. In contrast to modern educational systems that emphasize emotional support and encouragement, the Spartan ethos embraced hardship as a fundamental element of character building. The concept of krypteia, a secret rite of passage for select Spartan youths, pushed the boundaries of this training further, entrusting them with missions that tested their skills and resolve to the utmost. This rite involved sending the young trainee into the wilderness during the winter without footwear or shelter as a test of their survival skills. It was the most promising recruits that were selected to undertake this trial, often marked for future leadership roles. Unlike contemporary educational milestones, which often celebrate academic achievements, the krypteia was a test of a Spartan's ability to function as an effective and lethal unit within their society. In essence, the agoge was not merely an educational program, but a comprehensive system of life preparation, centered on the needs of the state above the individual.